everybody. Welcome back to another PODMAS episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine. We're on episode 3 of PODMAS 2021. Let's get into Larry Hoover. I think I'm Big Meech. Huh? Larry Hoover. Okay, first of all, let's... He's fine. I mean, let's look at the older pictures of him, like the younger pictures of him. You know, when you Google him and images come up, I mean, he's a handsome man. Let's give credit where it's due. But he is an American gang leader. He's a co-founder of the Chicago street gang, Gangster Disciples. And yeah, he's not a safe guy. Let's just start there. And the reason why I wanted to point out how physically handsome he is that it's so interesting how a lot of the physically handsome men may be into some crime life, gangster life type of situation. I just find that to be a trend amongst people who I know in my personal life and people who I've seen in the media. They're fairly attractive. And it's like, damn, okay, I'll fall for your crime scheme this time because you're so fine, right? But this is a joke. It's a joke. But yeah, Larry Hoover, he is responsible of the infamous Gangster Disciples. I'm saying gangster. I sound like a damn whitey, right? No, but I'm literally just reading off of what the information that I'm finding online. And it's called GD in short. And this is a gang that is raised in Chicago, in the streets of Chicago and Chi-Town. And this guy is now being seen as this street hero, this somewhat of a role model, it looks like, amongst like these industry guys, Joe Budden, or people in the industry. I see a lot of them, Kanye West, Drake. They're all fighting for the release of Larry Hoover. Now, let's get into his charges, because there's a misconception that I'm noticing going around of what exactly is he in prison for. Now, the misconception is that he's only in prison for selling crack and for creating a prevalent and successful drug trafficking ring of crack cocaine. Now, that may be one of the charges as to why he is in prison still, but he was actually sentenced to 150 years to 200 years for a 1973 murder, okay? And in 1997, he was also indicted for a 17-year investigation of conspiracy, extortion, money laundering, and running a continuing criminal enterprise, which is a GD, by leading the gang from state prison. Okay, so he received a life sentence nonetheless. Now, to minimize it and just say he was sentenced to prison for only crack, for solely crack, is actually insulting to the people, okay, to the free people in the world. This man is responsible for the lives of many in Chicago who have been whether tormented, whether pressured or killed because they were involved in street life, or they were forced to be involved in street life. And this man is not this innocent hero, just like this Spider-Man type of character. It's so weird to me how these industry folks are just calling out his name as if he freed slaves. Like, no, you've enslaved many Black communities in Chicago and other states, I'm sure. And to just minimize that by saying, oh, well, he's been in jail for 20, 30 years. And look, I think we romanticize prison enough. And look, this is coming from someone who actually wanted to work at a prison. And that idea faded away a while ago. But I remember moving here to Texas, and when I was living in the countryside of Texas, there were like clear passageways towards prisons here. And what I mean by that is when I would drive in the countryside, I would see on my right hand side that if you just drive further down, that is a prison. Whether it's a woman's prison, a men's prison, it is a prison nonetheless. And if you just drive further down, you could go ahead and check it out if you wanted to. Well, not check it out, but it's not a museum. But nonetheless, it was so easily, it's so easily accessible to check out prisons here, and to see them in real time, in real life, and not just on TV. It felt fascinating for me coming from Boston. And yes, I've seen prisons as far as like I will drive by. This is prison in Dorchester that is not like this big time. It's not maximum security. It's probably a jail. It's probably considered a jail. Like, okay, you get a traffic stop and the cop realized that you actually have 5 traffic stops and you never paid off the tickets. You'll go to that type of jail, that facility. But here in Texas, the prisons that I've driven by are prisons. Like, okay, is this Guantanamo Bay? Like, it's prisons. And so I would look at them as I would drive. I would slow down in my driving. I would literally pull over because I was just so fascinated by this archetype, like this, what I would always see on TV as this, this different land, this place where people, have dealings and they are corrupted, and you see the COs dealing with the prisoners, and there's so many like different things that came to mind when I saw a prison in real life when I moved here. And I thought to myself, like, oh, I wonder what it looks like inside. I wonder what it would be to just like walk through the prison halls. Prison halls. No, but a part of me was really, not a whole part of me was really interested in just walking through the prison gates and seeing it as a reality rather than this fantastical thing that I would see on TV. And to be so close to a prison here in comparison to when I was in Boston, it just felt so exciting to me. So there was a period in time when I would look online and find and try to find, I wonder what job positions, like teaching job positions, are available at these prisons. Like, I was really just so into it, but that died down. Thank the Lord, that died down. Yeah, so that died down, but prior to it dying down, I felt this calling per se, or something about like, I want to save those who are wrongfully accused, and I want to at least give them education. I want to at least provide them with a way out, academically at least. And I romanticized it. And within the media, prison life, drug life, street life, all of that gets easily romanticized, and we tend to forget of the danger that is street life, the danger that is prison life, the punishment that it is, the cautionary tale that it is. And yet we get caught up with the stories of, well, this person was wrongfully accused and he or she got in prison for X amount of years and they missed out on the free world. And so I got caught up in that mentally. And so I fantasize about walking into a prison and teaching prisoners and just being an aide and being like, I get caught up in my head so much, especially at that time. So, so that died down. But like in regards to Larry Hoover, I feel like a lot of these celebrities are caught up in this romanticism when it comes to these gang leaders, to these street life leaders and thugs, etc. And so to diminish Larry Hoover's sentence by saying, oh, well, he just got in prison because he sold crack, that's not the case at all. He got in prison because he murdered someone by the name of William Young in 1973. William Young, his nickname goes his nickname goes by Pookie. Oh, okay. A 19-year-old neighborhood drug dealer. He was abducted and later shot to death in an alley near 68th Street in Union Avenue in Chicago's Inglewood neighborhood. Okay. And his killing was ordered by Hoover. So what I'm learning about Larry Hoover is that he didn't necessarily do the killing directly, but he orchestrated his people, his team, to do the killing on his behalf. So you clearly could paint out a picture of a man who is completely influential, a man who could call the shots at whatever given moment and get done what he needs to get done. So to make him out to be this, oh well, he's this poor and disabled man who needs to be out and see his son is just diminishing all of the lives that he ravished during his time of reign when he was in Chicago, and even when he was initially behind prison bars, he still had a strong influence, and he still has one to this day. So for him to be behind bars but to have such a great influence upon Kanye West, upon Drake, like how you know Drake, how you know Kanye West, like y'all really meeting up? This Larry Hoover is 71 years old. Okay, why is he still, like, why would he ever come across Drake or Kanye West? Or all of this just speaks to me that the day and age that we live in today, we romanticize the negative so much so that we become completely naive to someone's dangerous influence. So yes, of course, ideally you this man in particular, Larry Hoover, he is not just a criminal, right? He's a father, he's a husband, he's all of these things that are not necessarily negative. And because of this imprisonment that he's in, he is now missing out, or has been missing out, on the lives and the raising of his son, of his two sons, and or three sons actually, yeah, of his three sons. And it's unfortunate, but it wouldn't have been so had you not engross yourself in crime behavior, in criminal behavior, in street life. So I just really think it's so strange how you have so many celebrities, so many rappers in particular, just finding a way to shout him out and make him out to be like this hero who stood up for Black lives, like he was an activist in some sort. And you know, when you think about gang life back then, I understand that gang life back then was really a way to protect the community. It was created because the police force did not care about the inner cities. The police force did not care about urban life and people inside the city. They mostly cared about suburban life, white folks, etc. I understand that. So gang life was more so created to be the police force within that community, to be the ones people could call on if so-and-so got their car robbed or, you know, their house broken into. They will call a Larry Hoover. Now, I understand that, but when the gang life turns into more about taking away the real potential of life from so many people, and by taking away someone's life, you are simply introducing them into drug life, you're introducing them into addiction, you're introducing them into gang life, and you're creating a perpetual life filled with crime, filled with addiction, just filled with just negativity, low vibrational stuff. I wouldn't call Larry Hoover this activist. Like, I think as human beings, we are all multidimensional. We have different facets to ourselves, and I'm sure Larry Hoover has his positive traits. I'm sure, of course, we all do. But to discount the negative impact that he has had upon Chicago, upon many people, is actually doing us all a disservice. Now, I don't know about, you know, when you think about like sentencing per se, there should be a time limit, you would think, right? Like, how long does it take to absolve yourself from a crime that you committed, no matter what the crime is? Like, is 20 years enough? Is 30 years enough? Like, shouldn't we finally get to a point when we can say, okay, I paid my time, I learned my lesson, I can now get back into society? That's really up to debate. I don't know. I really don't know. You know, we like to be very particular about what type of crimes we want to put certain sentences to. So I'm not sure about that. Now, I do know that his presence is very influential. So I think another reason why he still is in jail 40 odd years now is because of his influence, is because of all of the lives that are still dependent upon his leadership. And if his leadership is not to, if it's not to really uplift the community, if it's more to be a negative influence, then I don't know if it's a good idea to free him. I just feel like overall we have to look at someone fully, holistically. And when we are just like hopping off of what the industry and what the music industry is painting a picture of this character, this, I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, like we fantasize about it, right? We get all up in arms and suddenly we're gangsters, and you know, we're in the club shouting Larry Hoover, like, but do you know what he did though? Like, I don't know if this is someone you really want to free from prison. Now, look, I'm open to more conversations about this because maybe I'm being a white supremacist. Right? Maybe I'm the one saying, no, lock him up, put him under the jail. I just want to open the conversation to recognizing how much of a negative impact he's had upon the Black community. Like, let's not dismiss that. And I'm finding it to be a trend now from so many people in the media to dismiss the negative impact of Larry Hoover. So that's where I really just want to get into. So yeah, I just hate this whole street hero praise propaganda that we give these gangsters, these Black men who are out here continuously being a negative influence upon young Black men, young Black women, and just leaving this lasting effect that is not at all high vibrational. Moving forward, let's get into Ready to Love.
Now I'm ready to love.
Okay, so let's talk about Mean Girls. Zadia and Camille. My God, today. I mean, of course I'm triggered, right? I talked about my experience with Mean Girls in high school and middle school, and Zadia and Camille exemplify that in this show as far as just the mean girl archetype. I am so just disturbed by their behavior. I always felt like Zadia had a negative attitude, and this episode definitely displayed that even more. I can't even understand why she's like this. And you could tell from the very beginning of the show that she was always this negative person. Like, she had a negative mindset. She was introduced into the show as someone who would talk shit a lot with the guys that she liked, and if you can't joke enough with her, if you can't handle her shit talking, then you're not the guy for me, type of thing. And I think there's some toxicity in that, right? Like, if I'm always talking shit to you, like dogging you, making you feel like shit, you can't listen to me, or I can't listen to you, I don't respect you. It's really about not respecting you. Like, it's really about not caring about anything that you have to say, not respecting your word, not seeing you as anybody who's credible. And that's how I see Zadia is. She is someone who cannot take any accountability. She cannot reflect on herself and recognize, hey, I'm at fault here, or I do have flaws. She was so defensive when Dante spoke to her separately and was like, your behavior was just not okay. Like, he was letting her know what she did was not okay. And yet she got defensive and just saw it as, well, I see what side you're choosing. Just really petty. And then, of course, you have, what's her name? Camille's ass just being annoying as hell. Like, she always is with her damn faces, talking about, I will fuck you up if you eliminate Cornelius. Like, why are you talking like this? You're 42. Huh? Like, why is this even in your vernacular? I think it's so weird. Maybe it's me being an ageist, but I think at a certain point in your life, you shouldn't say certain things, right? Especially if you are of a particular age. If you are of a particular gender as well, right? You should not say certain things anymore. I'm going to reference to this quick story real quick because it's related to what we're talking about. When a few years ago, when I was still hanging out with Boston Bay, there was a point when we were arguing and he was being petty in his argument tactics. And the way that he would argue with me would be very like condescending. He'll throw things in my face that he knows I'm insecure about or that I may be insecure about. And one of the things that he would do, which is just so weird to me, he will say sis at the end. Like, okay, sis. Like, he'll end off his quote unquote point with the word sis. Now, if you know black girl lingo, you know that many black girls, we say to each other, okay, hey sis, or, and some black girls actually don't like that. They feel like it's condescending, which I could understand. Like, I feel like everything's with a tone. Right? If you call me, hey, bitch, okay, bitch. Like, there's a way to say something and take away the condescension from it and make it sound endearing. Just like the word, just like the N-word. So I feel like with sis, it sometimes could have a negative connotation and it sometimes could have a positive one. And in this case, clearly Boston Bay was definitely demonstrating a negative connotation with the word usage of sis. And this was just a tactic that he would use to kind of get under my skin. And I just thought to myself, you're a whole man, right? Like, you're a whole man and you're saying sis to me. I didn't understand. And my rebuttal every time he'll try to be like, dig under the belt, I would always laugh. Like, I will always make it a point for him to know that I don't give a fuck. Like, it really doesn't bother me, or like, okay, you're the weirdo. Like, I will always be dismissive. And because of that tactic, I knew that rubbed him like wrong even further. Like, he would try to dig deeper and try to hurt me even more. Oh, he was such an asshole. But yeah, sis was one of the words that he would use sometimes to act like he's above it all or try to act dismissive. And it's just like, what are you talking about? So when I think about Camille and the things that she would say, right, like, I will fuck you up if you eliminate Cornelius, it's like, why are you even talking like that? You're 42 years old. It's just the same thing. Like, why? I feel like men shouldn't use the word sis. Hello? Straight men shouldn't use the word sis. And to hear that and to see this example from Camille of her just saying just juvenile language in her old age is just ridiculous to me. In her old motherly age. Not to shame her for that, but like, it just makes me look at her as this juvenile. Like, she's really young-minded, and it just stamps the poor mindset that she has when it comes to communication style, when it comes to how she is in relationships. She continues to put forth the information that she's been engaged 3 times. Again, that is not a badge of honor. And her saying, oh, well, it didn't work out because she wasn't ready. No, it didn't work out because none of those niggas wanted you. Like, they realized they needed to get out, and that's what they did. Now, I just think Camille, Look, this show, this season, at the very least, has shown itself to be very uh disingenuous. It's a season that does not demonstrate people who are ready to love. Camille is not ready to love. Zadia is not ready to. I feel like they need to have therapy sessions, mental evaluations, personality evaluations for these contestants prior to having them confirmed on the show. I just don't feel like it is a genuine decision to have a Camille, a Zadia on the show. Like, what are we doing here? Cornelius may really be a dumb country bumpkin. I think that really is just a consensus. When Camille called him out on him like laughing and giddying in people's face and calling him a country bumpkin, I think that is an accurate observation. I think it's an accurate description. I think it's all accurate. Now, do I think it's appropriate to call someone a country bumpkin? No. A dumb country bumpkin at that? Absolutely not. I think that's a poor way to communicate. But in this case, I do think he is one. I do. I feel like he is someone who does not know how to think for himself, someone who needs a Camille to lead him, guide him, tell him what to do, for him to be submissive to. And you see that in just the way that he carries himself. He has yet to put forth any effort with any other woman, and him continuously being nervous on the show, even in his confessionals, and saying, I can't, don't let Camille find out that I'm talking to someone else, or don't let Camille find out that I said hello to someone else. It's like, let Camille find out. Like, what the fuck is going on? It's really sad to see a man get emasculated time and time again. I really hate seeing, especially black. I hate seeing that. So when I see Cornelius has much of a dumb country bumpkin that he is presenting himself to be, I really pity him. I pity him for being this dumbass. I really do. I want to say a couple words about Walter and Sabrina. Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. Sabrina is someone who I don't feel like is genuine as well. She has a presence about her that I don't know is all the way trustworthy, if that's really the word I want to use. Now, I don't want to put her 10-year career in exotic dancing has a fault to her. I really don't. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do, and whatever. She's no longer in that lifestyle, or maybe she is. I don't know. But overall, I feel like the connection that she has with Walter, I don't know if it's as genuine as is presenting himself, has she's trying to present it to be. And with Walter, I don't know if I do feel like he's under her spell. Like, when Mumin was saying that to him, I agreed with that, because I just feel like they definitely had sex. It shows in how he just kind of just sits with her, like emotionally, spiritually. I feel like he is more connected to her because of the bindingness of sex. And I remember the comment that she made in her confessional previously saying, oh, well, I know that he's talking to Mumin, but he knows where home is. Daddy knows where home is. So that's giving me the impression that they've slept together, that they spent time intimately together. So I think in this case, they have a connection more so because of the lust factor being fulfilled, because of these sexual desires. But besides that, I don't think there's really much of an emotional connection between them. I don't. I feel like Sabrina is a user, and I don't think Walter is in a place right now to, I don't know, I'm having a hard time really understanding him and many of the cast members here. Actually, I feel like they are not ready to love. So I don't see examples of them really spending time with their interests and really wanting a future with him or her, right? I don't see that. So when I'm watching these episodes, though this past episode was really interesting, I wish I would see more examples of love stories being birthed. Like in the previous season of Ready to Love, I still remember different connections that were present, right? That were being pursued. You see Rashid and Ariana love connection. You see Kalfani and Ariana. You see, I think that was her name, Ariana, right? But you saw these men really interested in this particular woman, and when they were on dates with her, they made it a point to stare at her in her eyes, to really care and I don't know, I just, with Rashid, I get a different sense with him. I feel like he was genuine. I feel like he really was intentional and wanted it to work out with Ariana, and it just didn't work out. And now we actually see him in a relationship with Simone, who he has a podcast with. They are on YouTube. So I see them like in a relationship. They're together, and that's what I would like to see more of. And I don't see that enough in this show, unfortunately. But that is literally the only success. Like, and what happened to Chris and that girl? What's her name? That black girl, dark skin. What happened to her? It's just weird. Like, what happened to these people? But anyway, this season I'm not convinced. And it's unfortunate. But of course, I'm going to still keep on watching and see where it goes. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you all for listening, and I'll check in with you guys tomorrow.